Earlier today, we spoke to the partner of the two children's mother. Here's some of what he had to say about Jack and Lily.
Awesome kids, very, very kind. They'll talk to anyone. They want to go with anyone. They're just looking to have as much fun as they can. Jack just absolutely loves bugs, dinosaurs, and anything like that. But Lily loves girly things, but she also loves doing everything with Jack, bugs. They're like best friends, not just brother and sister.
He says he's also hoping police monitor the New Brunswick border and the airports for any sign of the two children. But RCMP tell us this afternoon they're not considering any possible abduction here. As far as they're concerned, they're looking for two young children who simply wandered away.
I know that there's a lot of people pulling for these kids to come home.
Disturbing new details about the two siblings missing from Nova Scotia are being realized today. The Nova Scotia siblings, Lilly and Jack Sullivan, disappeared on May 2nd around 10 a.m. in the morning. And since then, a lot of people have speculated wildly, and some, in my opinion, are on target. We learned that there may have been a house party at their house in or around the time the kids disappeared. This changes what direction this case goes. The mounted police in Canada also stated that they have 35 individuals that they have identified for formal interview. And now these messages are becoming well known, and now we're starting to see the substances inside the home. Check it out. We're going to have a lot more to say about these text messages that are now making their rounds on social media. We've got a lot to talk about. Stay tuned to the Bullhorn Betty channel. And do me a favor, don't forget to heart this video. God bless you. Hey guys, I hope you guys are doing well here on the Tiki Talk. I'm Bullhorn Betty. I cover true crime. We're covering the case of Lilly and Jack Sullivan out of Nova Scotia. And they have been missing since May 2nd. We were told that the phone call came in at around 9:50, 10 a.m. in the morning, but did it really? We just started discussing this very topic today on my YouTube channel. And I wanted to bring it here to TikTok as well because I've got some questions. So Plunder is known on YouTube and she does a lot of great research. She has this ability to get to do the research like on the dispatch logs, like through Broadcastify and other things like that. And she was able to kind of get all of these dispatch communications between officers to officers on May 2nd when these children disappeared. And there was a few things that were very, very notable. And one of those things on the dispatch calls is law enforcement was indicating that the last time these children were seen by the mom and the stepfather was at 8 a.m. Okay? And also we learned that they didn't request for the search crews to come in until almost 10:44 in the morning. Almost an hour later after we heard the 911 call came in. So, let's be honest. I don't want to jump to conclusions, okay? I don't want to jump to conclusions. By the way, hi guys. It's nice to see you. Let me go back and just say hi to everybody that's in here. We got, River. It's nice to see you, love bug. I hope you're doing well. Jamie, Leslie, is it Tiana? Anna, it's nice to see you. There's no way I'm going to be able to pronounce that name. I can't do it. I'm so sorry. Sandra, it's nice to see you. Michael, Coco, it's nice to see you all. I hope you guys are doing well. I've been asking people to send me their opinions, their speculation, and all of that stuff to my email, bullhornbetty@gmail.com, bullhornbetty@gmail.com. Because I'm trying to, we have several theories on the table right now with this case. Let me just go back a little bit and then we'll get back on track. And so the theories really come down to them wandering off, stranger danger, or I don't really, I think it's foul play, but I'm going to get into that a little bit more, but it's like, I feel like, I guess there's a few things, because it could be an accident or it could be something more nefarious, right? And so I'm really trying to hone in on everybody's theories to kind of help me navigate why people think the way that they think, so I can bring those perspectives to each and every one of you. But here, what is very, very, very perplexing, and I think only people in Nova Scotia or somebody that's been in the area can help with, is why would it, because again, I don't want to jump to conclusions. I don't want to say, oh my gosh, they must have called later than 9:50, because they didn't call in the search crews. The request for them to initiate reaching out to like the SARS team and all of that didn't come in until 10:44. So why would it take almost an hour to call those resources in? That's the question I have. So if you know the answer to that, please email me at bullhornbetty and let me know, because what it looks like, in my opinion, it looks like the parents may have even called later than 9:50. They may even have called as late as 10:30 in the morning, depending on how quickly law enforcement can respond to Gerlach Road out there in Lansdowne Station. But it's my understanding that it's not that far from New Glasgow, which I guess is a major city in that region. So I recommend everybody going over to Plunder. I dropped a video yesterday if you haven't seen it. I've dropped several videos today. We've done 2 different lives about the Lilly and Jack case. If you guys would like to check it out, those resources were called and they were on another search. You're probably gonna have to clarify that from me. Okay, St. Laurent, good. How long, since you're here, let me just pick your brain. You're probably the closest I'm going to get to it. So I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate you letting me know where you're from. How long does it take typically for law enforcement? Say, I don't know, I'm pretty sure you guys may have a 911 system or something that's equivalent. How long would it take somebody to get out there to the Gerlach area if a call was reported in, like 2 children missing? Is it like a 30-minute situation? Is it a 10-minute situation? Is it like 5 minutes? I mean, would you know? Not from New Glasgow. Where would be the nearest police department? What police department would respond most likely out there in Lansdowne Station? Because I'm just trying to identify. So it would be the New Glasgow Arms, a 20-minute drive. Okay, so that would probably make sense, because that might actually make sense. It may not be as nefarious as it sounds, because if they made the call at, say, 9:50, then they would have been there about 10:10. By the time they approach, they get the statements from both mom and father, mom and stepdad, and call in support. That should be right around there. And if you bring that back into another 10 minutes, like that call didn't come in until 10, that would probably be right there in that. The bestie says, hey, from St. John's. It's nice to see you. I'm checking for updates daily on these children. Well, if you find them, please send them to bullhornbetty@gmail.com. The search team was on another search with 2 missing kayaks, including the helicopter. Yes, that is correct. And Plunder did differentiate. She went through those call logs and was able to differentiate that. I don't know if you've ever seen Plunder's channel on YouTube. Maybe I can get this to go a little bit bigger. That's what it looks like right there. It's probably backwards on your side, but that's what Plunder's channel looks like, and she's been dropping these dispatch calls, but she knows, like I said, she does great research, so she actually even stated about the kayakers and stuff like that as part of her dispatch, that she had to really listen because some were for a different case. 12:30 helicopter in the area searching. Yeah, but I'm specific for the ground searches. And from what we found out is the ground searches were requested to be initiated and sent out to Garlock Road at 9 or 10:44. At 10:44. Let me see if I might still have this up where it needs to be. Let's see.
Heartbreaking for all of this mom and step. 10:44 a.m. May 2nd again. Brother, 4-year-old Jack Sullivan. Their home. It's a road in Canada in Nova Scotia called Garlock Road. It's a lot of greenery, country, treacherous land out there. The nearest neighbor is definitely not just 100 feet away. I went back to the basics and, pulled down all that audio, raw audio from May 2nd again.
Cat 7, I'd read that call through SRCC there to get the helo. Head that way.
Yeah, we just gave him the directions. That's 1407 Garlock Road in Lansdowne.
Copy that.
I pulled down, downloaded all that raw audio again, and I was surprised that the first mention of anything about this missing case was at 10:44 a.m. on May 2nd. Specifically, I was looking for all the instances of when 8 a.m. was mentioned. And surprisingly, I heard it mentioned once again twice. I started thinking about the context.
So the children, according to the parents, this is what was being relayed across the channels from officer to officer, is that the parents hadn't seen the children since 8 a.m. However, when they started calling for ground searches to Garlock Road, it wasn't until 10:44. That's when that call was initiated from the officer. So if it's taking 20 minutes for law enforcement, for the initial responding officer to drive 20 minutes, if that call came in around 10, then they would be arriving at the house about 10:20 by the time they gather some information and make the call in. It could be 10:40 if that's their process. Their process may be as soon as he arrived on the grounds, which could have pushed that call back as late as 10:20 in the morning before these kids were reported missing. So I really don't know what to think of this yet, but I think it is some information we should be retaining related to this case and just put in the back of our minds until it starts making sense. Something will happen and some information will be released that we can take that and say, okay, this makes sense. Now we kind of get the timing and everything for this 911 call. But there's just a lot to do with this because these kids have not been seen by a third party that we know of since April 29th, which was the Tuesday that their bus driver dropped them off at their home. And that was it. They didn't have school because of a national holiday on Wednesday. They were both called out of work or out of school on Thursday, which many believe that something happened to these kids prior to them being reported missing. And if that is the case, it is raising eyebrows of why is Malehya pointing the finger at Daniel when they were together the entire time. So if one knows what happened, wouldn't the deductive reasoning be that the other would know what happened? And isn't it bizarre that she took off from this property and has not been back since? I don't think she's been back to this property since the day these children were reported missing on May 2nd. I haven't seen where she ever came back to the property. That is ultra weird for me. And somebody threw out this hypothetical, which I can't stand hypotheticals in situations like this when it comes to this particular thing. They're like, well, what if the Department of Children and Family Services told her she needed to leave with Meadow or they were going to take Meadow? Well, right now, Meadow's in the Department of Children, whoever Canada has. Meadow's in protective custody right now because Daniel acknowledged that he can't even see his daughter. So if she's already in protective custody, Why hasn't the mother come back? Like, literally, the mother took off. She doesn't have her 16-month-old, and her 4-year-old and her 6-year-old are missing. So we got a mom that's MIA with no children. It's just not a comfortable narrative to be trying to convey to an audience when advocating for children, because you don't want to think that way. Yes, she's Native and on a reserve. Police can't talk to her on a reserve. Wow. That puts something into perspective. Nobody, because we don't deal with that stuff here in the United States of America. We don't have, I mean, we do have reservations, but like here in Florida, we don't have any reservations. I think we have some reservations over in New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, states like that. But I've never dealt with a reservation before. I've never dealt with native tribunals before. And that is interesting. Maybe she took off so she doesn't have to talk to the police, because St. Laurent is saying that if she's a native and on a reserve, the Canadian police can't talk to her on a reserve. Is there any cooperation between the tribal police and the Canadian mounted police at all? Yes, police need permission from the chief to talk to her. And I know that, and you know what? That might be something. Because remember how when they did their first press conference, they gave the Native Tribunal its honor and respect before they ever even talked about the children. They talked about the land. And from being from the United States and not dealing with stuff like that, I didn't think anything of it. But you know what? Maybe they were showing respect to the Native Tribunal in an effort to elicit cooperation as well. That's interesting. See, I would have never thought of that. And I was talking about that just on YouTube, about how this is kind of a gray area for me. I've never done an international case before. And I have to tell you, researching this case has had its challenges for me. And so it's why I've been so vocal on all these platforms, because we do have Canadian followers, but we don't have, say, as many Canadian followers as, say, I have as American followers. And I need to try to reach, the Canadian Coffee Club family, because they're the ones that are going to have to guide me. Like when we started in Sebastian Rogers' case, I was absolutely ignorant to autism, had no earthly idea what autism was. I knew that there's this thing called autism, but I was ignorant to what it is, how it affected people or anything like that. And it took my audience moms and dads and grandparents and bus drivers and stuff and teachers reaching out to me to kind of explain the very complex condition of autism. And it has and I understand why they talk about a spectrum, because I don't think out of all the stories I heard that there were any identical stories from autistic person to autistic person. There were some behaviors that I was able to attribute. Like the one thing that I was able to attribute to all autistic children that I had been spoken about, or somebody called me to tell me about their family or whatever the case may be, is their love of video games. Other than that, I haven't found one consistent autistic person being identical in behavior as another. It's very interesting. I have to be honest with you. The autism condition is perplexing. But very interesting and intriguing for somebody like me. No, it's not the best at times. They do have their own policing in some communities, fellow Canadians. Oh, that's interesting. See, I don't know anything. You guys are going to have to explain all this stuff to me, because the majority of our audience are Americans, and I can tell you the policing. I mean, it seems like the detective work and stuff like that seems to be a standard practice from country to country in the grand scheme of things. Thank you, Donna. But it seems like how things are done, the hierarchy, the chain of command, it's similar but different. And so I would like to learn all of those different nuances, They like routine. They do like routine. As a Canadian, I had hoped they became better after the Ayler case. You guys are here on TikTok, but over on YouTube, Perry, we have the Deception Detective. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he just dropped a video on that that exact topic. Talking about Dylan's case, as well as the two, Lilly and Jack here. So if you haven't seen it, I would definitely tell you to go over to the Deception Detective. He's very good. He's an attorney trained in statement analysis. I hope they find. I do too. Oh, you're from Germany. Well, thank you for visiting, Mary. I appreciate that. Yes, he's great. Okay, so you know who I'm talking about. Perfect. Well, that's really all I had. I just wanted to tell you guys a little more information. As I'm finding it out, I'm trying to, make sure I hit all the social media channels with as much information that I find that I can corroborate as humanly possible. The one thing that I'm having challenges with also, that maybe you guys can help me, is the interviews. I know Daniel Martell has provided several different interviews over several different days. And I have found like little bits and clips like here on TikTok where people have been able to clip some stuff. But I need to find the original so I can listen to the whole interview that they have out to the public. And that's where I'm having some problems, because even when I search his name in Google, I'm not getting his interviews. I'm getting a whole laundry list of YouTube people, content creators like myself, but I really need to hone in on the local mainstream media there that has been getting those interviews from Daniel and has been posting those interviews of Daniel. So if you know where those are, or you have them, or you've seen them, please don't forget to email me at bullhornbetty@gmail.com. I am seeking those. I'm right now in the process of preparing a spreadsheet with several different sheets, a worksheet, and it's already got the timeline. I'm already working on the timeline. I've already got the date that they moved into their house. I'm building an entire timeline, and I'm trying to find all the interviews that they've given so far so I can get them on here so we can go back and review them. And I also want to find any articles of interesting information. For example, sometimes there are reporters out there that don't have cameras. They write articles, or maybe something was videotaped by a news crew, but they didn't put it in their segment, but they wrote about it. So any interesting information that you deem interesting for yourself, or you find some information you didn't know, send that over to me at bullhornbetty@gmail.com, bullhornbetty@gmail.com. Okay, Kristen, I have an 8-year-old on the spectrum. He loves routine, has texture and sensory issues. Yeah. And that's even differing from autistic child to autistic child. They could have the same things, a sensory issue and a texture issue, but it'll be different sensories that trigger one and different textures that may trigger another. Like there's no anything to, be sure to check. That's it, Perry. The CTV news and the CBC news. And that's where I've been going. And that's where I've been going to try to find and search for some stuff. So, all right, guys. Well, that's all the information. If you guys have a suggestion, a theory on why they would be ordering the search at Gairloch as late as 10:44 that morning on May 2nd, Let me know your theory on it. I found that a little interesting, but now that I know that it would have to be the New Glasgow police that drove out there, they're saying it's a 20-minute drive. And so that could make sense, but it still looks like the call didn't come in at 9:50 either. It looks like it may have came in, after 10 a.m. So I think that those details are important, because we find truthful parents freak out immediately and call 911, and if they find their children, call back to 911 to cancel the call. I mean, I think I've covered cases out the wazoo where I've read cases where they're reported missing and within 20 or 30 minutes they're canceled. But here it's just weird. And again, I always, in the back of my mind, every now and again there's this little voice that comes out and says, fact is stranger than fiction. And I that voice is coming out a little bit in this case in my gut. And so I'm being ultra cautious not to just go, feet first into looking squarely at the parents, because we have this potential house party. I am really interested. If anybody knows anything about that, if you don't even want anybody to know stuff about that, I will keep you confidential. I just want the details of the information. But I'm trying to find out, one, if truly in fact there was a house party. I want to know exactly on what day and time of day that this house party was. And I'd like to know if anybody knows who attended this alleged house party. Once we answer those questions, I can feel more comfortable in my analysis of this case. But this is a huge gap in my analysis that it's hard to overcome, because that has critical details and, quite frankly, critical importance in this case. I mean, it changes. Wouldn't you agree that it changes the details or the facts of this case, whether these children were only with their parents or whether they are around 20 or 30 party animals? I mean, the details do matter in a situation like this, because it puts other unknown people in contact with these missing children shortly before they went missing. I think it's huge. But we can't dismiss the parents' behaviors. And I think that's what's kind of driving the conversation right now. Mom is missing, and we're learning that she might be missing so she doesn't have to answer questions from law enforcement. To me, that's huge. That's huge. And quite frankly, that frustrates me. Because damn, that's a red flag for sure. That's a red flag for sure. And law enforcement isn't answering or even making any kind of commentary on whether they have an open communication or open dialogue with the mom since she's been out of the house. I know she's with her family, Adrian, but we just learned in Canada that, and we did learn from law enforcement themselves that these children are indigenous, that their mother is indigenous. And we just found out that if she's on a reservation, law enforcement can't speak to her. And we know she has not been back to the house since she left. That, to me, I don't know. That would have me feeling all types of ways right now, hearing that information. See, like I said, I'm ignorant to how Canada works. I did not know that. I'm here in Florida. I don't know of any Indian reservation in Florida. And if there is one, somebody might say it and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, I forgot it. But to the top of my head, I've never dealt with an Indian reservation or a tribunal, a tribe, whatever. So there is that. She's saying police told her to leave, but do we know that? No, we don't know that for a fact. We don't know anything for a fact. And it is my belief, because even Daniel acknowledged that there was law enforcement that came out to the property and they had to throw people off the property. So we learned that her and her family were kicked off the property. We know her family was kicked off the property. Whether she was forced off the property or willingly left with her family is something we don't know. And so, yeah, I guess technically law enforcement did tell them to leave, but it's because they were out there screaming in the front yard making a scene. I'm certain she was not trespassed off the property, because I don't see how that could be lawful and legal for her to be trespassed off of her own domicile. So that doesn't make sense. And then that's another one, Adrian. That's incorrect too. CPS had her leave with the baby. Then why does CPS have this child in protective custody? If that's the reason why she needed to leave is so they didn't take her, then why is she in protective custody right now? And since she's in protective custody right now, why in the world is her mom not back out there looking for this child? Yeah, they didn't just take the baby. The baby's been in their care since what? The 3rd or the 4th? The baby's name is Meadow. I know, it's a beautiful name. It's a beautiful name. Police wouldn't tell someone to leave her kids behind. Yeah, I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. Adrian, you're in here every single time, like every case from case to case, telling me you're this and you're that. I don't forget too much. That's what makes me so good at my job. So if you're from Halifax, I'm glad you're from Halifax, but these people that I've been talking to are from New Glasgow. Wouldn't that be the closest place to Gairloch Road? Wouldn't they be the best people to ask these questions to? The parents have been followed by Children Protective Services for years. See, that's something I didn't know, because that's what when I looked at all the photos that are displayed on Malehya's Facebook page, which I've got a few of them if you guys want to see them. Let me see if I can pull this up. They're so cute too. I dropped a video with all these new photos. I'm sure you guys have already seen them. That was the one question I had is and one of the reasons why I've been so friendly, and on the fence, is because I'm like, look, there's no CPS involved in this family. And I figured that says at least something about it, but now that you guys are saying that Children and Child and Protective Services have been following the family, how do we, is that, well, one, let me ask you this, is that rumor or is that factually known? And if it's factually known, how was it learned factually, I guess is the question. They may have missed some warning signs. Seems like she left because she already knows what. That's where I'm at, Bo Rain. That's where I'm at. And like I'm trying to, because this is so soon in the case for us to be focusing, well, I guess not really. I mean, the case does kind of break apart, but it really does look like the parents are going to be focused on the most. Okay, statistically they should be anyways. But in this case, public interest is focusing, on the mom and the stepdad. And with the mom leaving and the children in protective custody, or the children are missing, why wouldn't the mom be out there every day talking to law enforcement about her kids? I mean, you guys have to put yourselves, and I think a lot of people forget this. They're so busy trying to explain the behavior away that they fail to put themselves in this position. Would you be able to control yourself enough not to be out there? I don't know if myself and I would be able to control myself. If anybody in my family was missing and somebody told me to stand down, where can I stand? Because I'm not sitting at home. I want to see what you're doing. I want to know where you're at. I'm going to be out there. If you have any questions, I'll be right here. You can come up and ask me personally. I just don't see me running a couple counties away or provinces away like Malehya did, or over to a different state like Katie and Chris Proudfoot did in the Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers case. I just don't see myself doing that. And I think people forget to put themselves in the positions that these parents are in, because I think people are so busy trying to explain away or give them excuses on why that they're not putting themselves into this. And how freaked out would they be? How freaked out would you be if you couldn't find your kids and somebody told you not to go look? Like, I think many of you guys, when you put yourself in that situation, would probably be ready to tear up the ground, right? Like you're going over them, under them, or around them, but get the hell out your way. That's my child. I think most of us are like that, And look at all of us. I mean, we're all here for somebody else's child. So we wouldn't even be like that for just our own child. We would actually be like that for a child we didn't even know, because we're like that now. Look at all of us in here. Nope, I would be looking for my kid. You damn right. And that's the problem that we had in the Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers case, as well as the Summer Wells case. You know what I'm saying? Look at the Wells. All they wanted us to do is go away so they can just live their best life ever. They have no children. They can do whatever the heck they want. None of their children have been given back to them after all this time. They do not have their boys back. That has to say something. That has to say a lot. So, I don't know. All right, guys. Well, rock it out with your coffee beans out. Thanks for coming over and spending some time with me and chatting with me and learning about this case. But if you guys could ever send me some stuff, if you guys see some stuff for those that are from Canada, if you hear me say something wrong or you see I don't understand, SPED teacher, it's nice to see you, love. Or, like this whole thing with the tribals, the tribal nation. I didn't know that. So if you guys know of any of these weird nuances that that us Americans don't understand, send me some information, bullhornbetty@gmail.com. I'm trying to learn and understand, therefore I can help my audience learn and understand, therefore we can help impact one of these cases and try to get these children home. At the end of the day, law enforcement has already given us the grim news that they do not believe these children are alive. Today's the 20th day. I don't believe these children are alive, but it doesn't change the fact that they still need to come home. So God bless you guys. We'll be back on later. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful, I think today's Thursday. I'm losing days with so much research. It's crazy because I feel like I'm researching 10 times harder for information on this case. And I don't understand why it's so hard to get some information on this case. Maybe it's because it's in Canada. I don't know. But I'm working around the clock trying to find something. So if you guys can help me, I'd really, really appreciate it. Thank you. We'll see you soon.